guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 8, Long A and Long I. Please take a second to gather your materials. You should have this book open to page 53. You'll also need some colorful pencils, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark up on the board, you should be marking on your page. Please save space for a key as well. All right, so for the last several weeks, we spent a lot of time talking about short vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, and their short sounds, A, E, I, A. We also spent a little time talking about the CK digraph and silent letters. You're going to see some of those silent letters show up again this week. But we're going to take a break from short vowels and move on to long vowels. Remember, long vowels say their name. So in this list, we are going to hear the A say A in several words, and we're going to hear the I say I in several words. And the way they're going to do that is with the help of a silent E, or what I like to call bossy E. But we'll talk more about that in a second. All right, please repeat after me. Flake, knife, plate, skate, slide, smile, snake, stale, state, and right. Okay, hopefully you heard the A and the I sound repeated several times. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to talk about the A, K, E pattern. Go ahead and put a box around that. What I want you to notice is that we have a vowel, then a consonant, then a silent E. Doesn't matter what the consonant is, that E is going to jump over and tell the A, say your name, say your name. So instead of full-ack, it will say full-ake. The same thing's going to happen right here in the word plate. That bossy E is going to jump over the T and tell the A, say your name, say your name. So now instead of pull at, it will say pull eight, plate. Okay? We see it again in the word skate. We see it again in the word snake. Again in the word stale, and one more time in the word state. Okay? Notice the E is silent, but it makes the A say its name. Okay? If we didn't have that E there, it would say flack and plat and scat. So that E has an important job. Over here, we're going to say blue box equals long A, okay? Because all of these words have a long A sound followed by a consonant sound, a K or a T or an L. Okay, please choose a second color. And now we're going to notice the same thing about words that have an I, then a consonant, then an E. This time, the bossy E is going to jump over the consonant and tell the I, say your name, say your name. So we'll have knife. Here, the E will jump over the D and tell the I, say your name. So we have slide. This will happen again in smile and again in right, okay? In all of those words, the E is silent, but it's bossing the I around. Orange box equals long I, okay? All right, now, did you notice some of those silent letter teams that we learned about last week? The KN, right? Last week we saw that in words like not and knob. Today we see it in knife. Remember, the K is silent, the N does the talking. All right, do you see another silent letter combination from last week? Good. Hopefully you spotted the WR in right. This time the W is silent, the R does the talking. We learned last week that KN always shows up at the beginning of a word. Same thing with WR, shows up at the beginning. Other silent letters like the B in words like lamb and numb show up at the end. All right, purple box equals silent letter team. We call them a team because they work together, right? The silent K always hangs out with N. The silent W always hangs out with R. Okay, for the last couple weeks, we've also been talking about verbs. Remember, verbs are action words, things we can do. So let's choose another color and go through our words and see if we can find some action words. So for instance, skate. That's a verb. That's something I can do. I can skate on the pond, or I can skate on an ice rink. Slide can also be used as a verb, right? It can be a noun, like a slide is something you play on in the playground, but you can also slide on the ice. You can slide on a wet floor. Smile, that's definitely something we can do. That's a verb. State can be a verb, right? I'm not talking about the state of Connecticut, but you can state your name or state your age. It just means to say something out loud. And then, of course, write is a verb, because this is the kind of write that we do with a pen. So V equals verb. And just as a review, a verb is an action word. It's something we do. Okay, now, over the last couple weeks, we have been practicing adding endings to verbs. So if we want to make it sound like something already happened, we can add ed. If we want it to sound like something we're doing right now, we can add ing. Well, the rules change a little bit when our verb ends with e. When a verb ends with e, we have to drop that e before we add our ending. So if I want to change skate to skating, I drop the e and I add ing. If I want to change skate to skated, same thing. I drop the e and then I add my suffix ed. Okay, let's look at the word smile. If I want to change that to smiling, drop the e, add ing. If I want to change it to smiled, I drop the e, and then I add ed. Okay? You're going to have more practice adding ing and ed suffixes on page 56. Okay? You're also going to learn on page 56 that some words don't follow the rules. They are rule breakers, or we could call them irregular verbs. So for instance, slide, I can change it to sliding, right? Drop the E, add ing. But slided is not a word, right? You wouldn't say I slided into home plate. You would say I slid. So there's your rule breaker. Look at write. Writing, drop the E, add ing. But writed isn't a word. You wouldn't say I writed a story. You would say I wrote a story. Slid and wrote are rule breakers. They're just words we have to memorize because they make their own rules. Okay, very quickly, let's make sure we understand all of our words. So for flake, you could think of a snowflake, right? You could think of sometimes paint, old paint starts to chip off and you get little flakes of paint. Sometimes people get flakes of dandruff in their hair. So flakes are just little delicate pieces that have broken off something else. You know what a knife is, right? A plate would be something you eat off of. We talked about skating and sliding, smiling. Snake, you know what a snake is, right? One of those animals with the long tongue. Stale. If you forget to close, let's say you get some bread out of the bag and then you forget to close it, the bread will get stale. If you leave it out for several days, any kind of baked goods, rolls, cookies, they'll get stale, they get hard, right? And they're not tasty anymore. So stale, I'm just gonna write old, okay? But we're talking about food here. And then state, you can state your name, but a state is also a place. So our country, the United States, is broken up into 50 pieces. Each piece is called a state. New York is a state. California is a state. And then the last one is write. And just keep in mind, I'm going to put a circle around this. Write is a homophone. Remember, homophones are two words that sound the same, but they're spelled differently and they mean different things. So this kind of write only refers to what we do with a pen or pencil. This kind of write is the opposite of wrong, like, ooh, I got the right answer. This kind of write also means this is my right hand, not my left. Okay, so just watch out for those homophones and you guys should be good to go. So good luck and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.